Hey, boo, how you doing?
Welcome back to Yam Yam, the podcast where pop culture meets real talk with a side of soul food wisdom. I'm Jersey, and today we're diving into something that's essential for anyone using social media, but especially for those of us with platforms. Whether you got 10 followers or 10 million, with the reach that comes from being online, our words hold more power than we actually might realize. What we say can inspire, connect, or even, if we're not careful, create division. Today, we're going to talk about or explore the responsibility we have when we share messages with wide audiences, how intention and impact don't always align, and what it means to manage your digital footprint in a thoughtful way. We've all seen it happen. One tweet or video catches fire, and suddenly it's everywhere. A comment meant one way gets interpreted another, and before you know it, you're in the middle of a social media storm. It happens to influencers of all sizes. Take the recent situation where Mama Todd, an influencer, commented about Hurricane Helene and how her comments triggered a complete uproar. While they likely didn't mean to cause harm, their words were perceived as dismissive of the survivors' struggles, or not necessarily them, but what the survivors were getting. And given the current political climate, it took a life of its own. People quickly linked the comment to broader political stances, and suddenly it wasn't about the original message anymore. This is where the power and responsibility of messaging comes into play. Once your words are out there, they can be interpreted in ways you might not have intended, especially when people bring their own experiences, beliefs, and emotions into the mix. This whole situation takes me back to something my Nana always told me. We often spent evenings together playing Monopoly on her Nintendo that I gave her, by the way. And let me tell you, that woman, she was competitive. She did not like to lose. But in the quiet moments, when the world seemed to slow down, that was when she used to drop those little nuggets, those little pieces of wisdom on me. I remember one time after I had gotten into a disagreement with a friend over something I said, Nana paused the game and turned to me and she said, "Baby, once your words leave your mouth, they stop being yours. They belong to everyone who hears them." That stuck with me, and it's something I think about a lot, especially now with the way words travel so fast online. Nana was reminding me that words have weight, and once they're out there, you can control how they land, how they're received, or how they're even interpreted. That's why it's so important to be intentional and thoughtful, because your words may impact someone in ways you never expected. This brings me back to the responsibility we all have when we communicate online, especially if you have a platform. Tone, timing, context matter. You might mean something in one way, but when it gets filtered through 100 different perspectives, the message can shift dramatically. In this case, with this influencer I mentioned earlier, they probably didn't anticipate how their words would be received. But the reality is, the social and political climate can shape how anybody's messages are interpreted. So it's essential to step back and ask yourself, how could this been taken? How could I improve the message? Who might this affect? It's not about censoring yourself, but about being mindful of the power your words carry. But here's another layer to this conversation. The difference between online personas and who we are in real life. When we're online, we're sharing a curated version of ourselves. We might show our humor, our passion, our vulnerability, but it's still just a slice of who we are. As influencers, we have to be aware that what we put out there isn't the full picture. And while that's okay, we also have to remember that people are interacting with this version of us. It's easy for audiences to think they know you, but in reality, they only know the parts of you that you choose to share. As my Nana would say, you don't have to let everyone see your whole heart, just the pieces you're willing to share. And that's the balance we have to find, being authentic while recognizing that every part of ourselves is for public consumption. We can be real without being all-encompassing, and that doesn't make us fake. It just makes us human. Now let's talk about the mental health side of things. When you're constantly in the public eye, there's this pressure to always say the right thing, stay on brand, and avoid controversy. And when something you say doesn't land the way you intended, the backlash can be overwhelming. It can feel like the whole world is watching and waiting for you to slip up. This is where it's essential to take care of your mental health. It's okay to step back, reflect, and protect your peace. You don't have to give all of yourself to the internet. As influencers, we have to find ways to maintain balance, knowing that while our words matter, we also matter outside of our platforms. And it's about creating healthy boundaries between the online world and your real life self. So what's the takeaway? The words we use, especially online, have power. They can uplift or tear down, and sometimes, even with the best intentions, they can be misunderstood. That's why it's so important to be mindful of your message, to think about how your words might be received, and to recognize the responsibility that comes with having a platform. At the same time, protect your mental health, protect your mental well-being. You don't owe every part of yourself to the internet, and it's okay to take time to take a step back and reflect. Just like Nana said, once your words are out there, they belong to everyone. So let's make sure that those words reflect the best parts of who we are. Also, just want to leave this last little nugget before we close today. When you are using your platform, no matter who you are, you have to think about your persona that you've developed, how your persona, whether you say anything or not, may align with specific ideals or biases that maybe some of your target audience may already have, and how when you curate messages that you understand that and keep that in mind. Also, the main thing is that once you've amassed a certain amount of folks, you are no longer just a person. You are a brand. And the brand for a target audience needs to be consistent, and it needs to be comfortable for the user. And anything that disrupts that, that's when your brand equity comes in, and hopefully you have enough to where when you have little things like what happened to Mama Todd, that you could survive it. So I'm going to leave you with that. And like I always say, be the best possible version of yourself. And take care.
I'm just checking on you, okay? I love you, but